Hello and welcome to another edition of What Does the Giraffe Say with me, Kathleen Retourne. We are a service that aims to reconnect people in conservation with their audience, doing live social media interviews. Today I am very happy to be joined by Peggy Motsch, and she is a manager for Limbe Wildlife Centre based in Cameroon. So Peggy, I'm just going to hand over to you. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started work with the centre.
Okay, good evening, everybody. So, like Kathleen said, I'm the manager of the Limbe Wildlife Centre. I'm working there since 5 years. So my background is I'm an ecologist, but I'm more primatologist since more than 15 years. I'm working with a lot of different kind of species and more in the wild, and after also work a little bit on captivity. So after some time, after around 10 years, I decided to use my knowledge on wild population, especially on primates, to fill the gap between conservation and population management in sanctuary. So that's why I came in the Limbe Wildlife Centre 5 years ago, and to bring the center on another level, and to help the animal and the welfare on the animal, and to develop more natural behavior.
Okay, and then can you tell us a little bit more about the centre itself, like the history, and then how did it start and why there was a need for it?
So the sanctuary start with the partnership between the Pendrilis NGO, the one I'm working for, and the partnership with the government of Cameroon. So in the 19s, our director Peter and Liza came in Cameroon, and so there was a lot of people keeping chimpanzees, many monkeys, and nothing was done for them. So they decided to create this partnership to help this animal to have a second chance to rehabilitate them. And also they decide to create it in the zoo of Limbe. So before the Limbe Wildlife Centre was a zoo. So with this partnership also, we, Pendrilis, was able to provide a better management and care of the animal, improving the well-being of the animal, who was different kind of species, chimpanzees, or the primate, crocodile, snake. So all over the more than 25 years, that's what we are doing at the center. So it's a long project and really successful because it's a partnership with the government.
And was that a difficult thing to arrange, to start something with the government in Cameroon? Did they feel like there was a need for this?
It was not always easy to create this kind of partnership, but the good thing is they were willing to do it. And that's showing a good sign. And it was good for the Cameroon to create this kind of partnership to show the state are engaging in conservation of the wildlife of Cameroon. Of course, that's why we are here to give them the technique and to help them also to raising funds to better manage all this population they have in the center.
And what is the overall attitude towards wild animals in Cameroon that are being kept in captivity? As I understand it, a lot of the animals are coming to you via the legal wildlife trade. Is it seen like a status symbol? Is it a big concern there? Are they getting shipped to other countries?
It's not easy. Yes, most of the animal come from seizure. Of course, the one we receive is just a part, and we have more underground who succeed to cross the border. We have some example. We see the government sees some animal where to the point to go to ship by the plane. It was a few years ago, so we still have a lot ongoing, unfortunately, especially on other species like the African Grey Parrots. So it's difficult to see where we are. Of course, there is a lack of, lack of the lack of repression, the law enforcement, but some trying to do hopefully, and but we still need to improve and work on that to help the government to do better applying the law on wildlife. But it's a long process. Unfortunately, with the crisis also we have since past 3 years in Cameroon is not helping to apply the law. So we're struggling a little bit about this, but we hope with the work we are doing, we can at least bring some people with us.
And what are the main animals that you're getting through? I know from I've done a bit of research into you guys, and there's a lot of chimpanzees and monkeys, and then some gorillas. Are these coming from the pet trade?
Yes, all of them. We have a lot of animals. We are around 200 primates, and among them we have 58 great apes, amongst 43 chimpanzees and 15 gorilla. We have after 15 other species of monkey, and we have around 250 African Grey Parrots. So the Limbe Wildlife Centre is really wildlife. We are not focusing, of course, at the beginning was really about the primates, but more and more other wildlife coming also through the center. So we're developing also about developing a new rehabilitation for the wildlife like the African Grey Parrots. So it's really challenging, and all of them are seized. Or sometimes we have also, and that's a lack of knowledge. That's why we are here also to educate the people. Is some farmer coming and bring some turtles because they think they will be better with us because they find them in the farm. So we have also to educate them, to tell them no, they are better, and to leave them here. They will not destroy your farm. So, and they will not be good here because of course at one point we will send them back to the wild. So they have to stay in the wild.
And is that your ethos with your organization, that if they can be released, do they get released?
So it's depends of each species we can release. Of course, some species are more difficult to release, like the primate, because even if we're working to go to this step, we still have the issue to protect the area where we will release. And that's the big issue in Cameroon because the forests are not protected, the national parks are here, but there is no law enforcement put in place or not allowed, no application of the law. So it's really challenging. And we don't want to bring back some animal in the forest so after they can go back to the system. But there is other species who are more easy to release, like the reptile and also the African Grey Parrots. So that's why we decide in 2 or 3 years to be more strong and to become the first national rehabilitation center for African Grey Parrots, because it was a need, definitely. Since 2017, the African Grey Parrots became endangered and completely forbidden to any exportation. And Cameroon one of the worst to export African Grey Parrot. And you can imagine the one were legal, how many was underground illegal. So now it's completely stopped. And we decide to be here to help the African Grey Parrot rehabilitation. So that's why we developed this national center and with different steps of rehabilitation. And since, so last year was a big year when we received more than 380 African Grey Parrots, 2 in big flocks, and we have to improve. So with also creating this national rehabilitation center, we are able to improve our capacity to take care of them, to reducing the mortality, so maximum can be released and back to the wild. But of course, the rehabilitation process is more shorter for African Grey Parrots. When you're taking care of primates, start to be more long. We need to be sure of the space and the way we work with them, because sometimes they arrive in a really bad condition. It will take more time to be rehabilitated, to go back. And we have to we need also the step like semi-free ranging enclosure to go to complete release after many years. So it's really challenging. So
I can imagine. And with the African Greys, was that because they were getting taken abroad for the pet trade?
Yes, there is a lot of problem with that. So and you can see, and what we see is just this last year, because as they completely stop the exportation, of course the need is still the same, so they continue to do it on the ground, and still the same issue are coming is the people who are in charge don't put law in place. So sometimes they decide to do a seizure, but sometimes they let it go because the corruption is really strong in Cameroon and difficult to stop and fighting against.
And then where you've been working with the organisation now for 5 years. Have you got any success stories, any favourite moments that you'd like to share?
Let me think. They have so many. I think I have few. I have one. I was really happy. It was the chimp I spoke later. It was 2 chimp who were seized, I think, in 2017. It was Uta and Mongo was seized by governments, and we helped them to bring them to the center. This poor chimp was kept in a small cage during more than 15, 16 years of 1 meter by 1 meter. So they didn't move. And you can see the entrance of the door was so small. They put them when they were a baby and they grow inside. So when we rescued them, it was like, oh my God. So how we can bring them back with us? Because you can see in the eyes, they were really, really far. And for them, the human, it was like, they are not my friend, definitely. So it was really a long process, and hopefully have a really good team. My head of quarantine is completely dedicated for the work we're doing. So he's the one who's taking care of the new orphan. And we spend a lot of time with them. At the beginning, they were separated because we have to test them. We have to see the condition of the health and everything. And we want to work and evaluate it, how they were doing. And at one point, we decided to put them together. And I think it's the best moment, I think, I saw, because when we put them together, they was the first time they are in contact for how many years with another chimpanzees. And they start to play, not the way the chimpanzees play, because chimpanzees are really rough and playing a lot, but they were so gentle, but they play and laughing for 1 hour and a half without stopping. And you can see they were like completely relieved for them, and it was amazing to see that. And it was really for us to show, okay, what we are doing was really essential for them, and we were really happy. And after now, I know they are with another sanctuary who work with us and belong to PASA, and they are in a semi-free ranging enclosure with other chimpanzees who have the same history, because of course for them to be back with other chimpanzees will be really difficult. But they help us with that, and it was really a nice story. It was the beginning for them. It was, at least they can finish their life in a happiness.
Yeah.
So it was really one of my best story on chimpanzee. Of course, after you have, when you can see African Grey Parrots, and that's happened not long time ago, after the seizure we have, they were really in bad condition. And we succeed to bring them in a way we can release. And when I opened and I saw the flock of 10 African Grey Parrots just flying to be back and flying through in the sky to the forest, it was like, okay, again, you can feel you are doing something for them.
Yeah, I know you have a lot of work as well, where you've got animals that have come to you, again, mostly through the pet trade, that have unfortunately been like made disabled by their owners and that kind of thing. So I imagine that's a huge commitment and a lot of work. What are the stories behind these? Have you got any stories here?
Can you repeat again, please?
So I know that you have, for example, you've got a gorilla that came to you with an arm that it can no longer use, so that it can never obviously go back into the wild. How do you then support an animal that not is only mentally traumatized but also physically traumatized?
But yes, of course we have some. We just create soon, not long time ago, a big enclosure for disabled chimp. Unfortunately, arrive is with bad condition. We have an example of Ga. A lot of people know him because he arrived. He received some bullet touch in his spinal and his head. So he was paralyzed on half of. He's paralyzed on the legs, but half, just one leg. So he cannot be other chimp. So we have to re-educate. It takes a lot of time. He was spending a lot of hours with him, but now he's in a big enclosure. He's a big male. is with two other females who, unfortunately, one is starting to be blind, and the other one, unfortunately, is unskilled socially because probably a lot of traumatism. And we work a lot. She improved a lot, but still she cannot live with a big group of chimpanzees. But at the end, they find their family, their own family, to be together. But it was a long process, and it was really difficult because, as you say, we have to spend a lot of time, and it's 24 hours and seven, I don't know, you said that in English, but 24 hours, 7 days.
24
So
hours.
that at the end, we have this result, and happy to see them in enclosure with other chimp.
And I guess as well, it's nice to just see them be able to be an animal again instead of just a creature in a cage for a human entertainment.
Yeah, definitely, and definitely. And you can see they adapt really well. We have also a gorilla who unfortunately loses one. She still have, but she cannot use it. But she managed with using her teeth to climb, and to be able to climb in a tree, to be able to climb on a platform. And she living in another group. They accept her. Of course, sometimes the young one bull her because they can see she's handicapped. But at the end, she's in a group, reproductive, with a male and female, not reproductive, but we call reproductive gorilla groups. And she managed a place. So they adapt. And some species are more easy to handle when they are handicapped, like gorilla. Chimpanzees, they can be really rough. So that's why we try to adjust a group.
Okay, and then we can't talk about conservation or anything at the minute without mentioning COVID. What sort of impact has COVID had in Cameroon? Has there been a spike in illegal wildlife trade? Has there been a reduction of enforcement?
But as I told you before, COVID for us is an addition, because since 2016-17, Cameroon, especially the south and northwest region, we are facing a crisis between secessionists and the government. So it was already affecting us a lot. So let's say COVID is on top of that. So definitely is not helping, especially these two regions who are really affected by this, because since the conflict and on top the COVID, all the activity on this region are completely stopped. Of activity on conservation are stopped. The NGO who try to work, of course, they cannot work on some area because we have some people in the forest who can create some issue. So for wildlife is not good, and also it's difficult to know where we are on the traffic, but definitely it is not helping because everything is underground and the corruption is so high. It's really difficult. But I think it was 2 months ago we seized again African Grey Parrots in Limbe, and hopefully they were stopped before they're going to Douala, probably to be exported or something else like this. So definitely it's not improving. It's getting worse, because when you cannot taking care of the forest in the national park, of course they will continue to have more illegal pet trade, more poaching. So COVID will not help, and also not helping on financial aspect. So if we don't have the finance to protect, of course it starts to be really difficult.
I guess as well that as well as the lack of enforcement, you've also going to have people that are no longer able to work, so they might take desperate measures to try and earn a living by doing like the illegal trading.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've only got one more question left, but if there's anyone back home that would like to ask a question towards Peggy, then please pop it in the comments section and I'll take a look and put it towards her. If you're watching this and it's not live, the video will be remaining on both our Facebook sites, so you can watch this whenever you like. And again, do put a question, because people will be more than happy to talk with you about it. So Peggy, my final question to you is, I know as well as your work in conservation, you do a lot of work with communities. Why do you think this is important, and have you seen any improvements to attitude?
Yes, especially on this time with the COVID, we have to reduce our activity for some area, but that's why we take advantage to use our education program, because for Limbe, we're working on education at different level. We have an education program in the school We have a Natures Club for every Saturday for children all around Limbe who can come. But unfortunately, these two projects on education are closed since the COVID. So we take advantage to work more on larger scale and try to develop more communication with all the people from Limbe. So we will working now to develop a campaign to sensitize them about the African Grey Parrots so they can be more involved. We also have a community work, so we try to continue to support them even with the crisis. We have a big community near the National Park of Mont Cameroon. It's the community of Batoke. We're working with more than 150 people, and is more women, 100 women and 50 men. So the women, we work with them so they can provide us some leaves like the potato leaves, papaya leaves, who don't have any value, and we buy them to provide food for animals, so we can give them some more revenue, and especially in this crisis, help them to focusing to do that and not trying to find another way to get money. And same for the men working with X Center. So continue to work with them. They harvest Aframamum, so is the non-leguminous plants, so they can provide us for the gorilla, especially who need, but also the other species. So all this revenue help them to avoid they continue to, or they start again to do some poaching. And we developed recently some family natures club with the Batoke. So we want to bring the children and the family together. And for us, it's really important. They are together sensitized of all the problem of the environment. So even if we have this issue with the crisis and also the COVID, we are still with them. We have to show them we continue to support them, because what they need to believe what they do can be nice for the wildlife of the Cameroon. And so if we continue, and that's why we decide, despite the COVID virus, to continue to educate and sensitize them, so they don't think we forget them, because that's also sometimes the problem when we have issue with in the country or all around the world. They will maybe feel not people still concerned, but we still need them. They are behind us to continue to work with us. So all these projects with the Protect Wildlife campaign, all the parrot campaign we are doing, some billboard also we will put in the entrance of Limbe and also in the community to show what we are doing, and so they can feel proud of what they do, and more they will be proud, they can also spread the word. So that's we try to do with them. And honestly, it's difficult to see the impact, but I can see some children for the Natures Club come after they have the age to come to do volunteering and want to know better about wildlife conservation. And it's a good sign. It means more young people, and we saw it at the center. We have a new generation coming, so we can start to work and provide them some work. And we are here some new generation, so that will be the one who will carry after that and will spread the word for others.
Yeah, I think I've always said it as well, that for people to feel passionate about the wildlife or conservation in general, they need to actually be able to experience it themselves, and then that's where you then become more passionate about it.
Yes.
We've got a question here from Don Gillespie. He's asking how many staff and volunteers are working at the centre at this time with the virus situation and travel, and is it really difficult?
So yes, we send back all our volunteers when the crisis arrived, because we didn't know how it will spread. Of course, nobody was knowing. So now we are only working, the director and I, on site with our staff. We have around 40 staff. Some are government staff and Pandruli staff, but everybody work together. And we're managing. Of course, it was not easy every day, because usually we have volunteers to help us, and especially for doing the rotation of the holidays. And we have long-term people who are always staying with us around 1 year, 1.5 years. It's more difficult, but honestly, the staff was motivating and behind everybody to take action. And if we need help at this section, they will go to help each other. So for now, we're managing well. after we see how he's doing for if he stay too long. But I think our staff is strong and can handle it really well.
And are you reliant on donors, and is that struggling in a time where people are also struggling financially?
Yes, we rely a lot of donors. Yes, because with the COVID, we have a lot of funders, unfortunately, who have to cancel the grant. So we lose around $100,000. But hopefully, we did some appeal, and a lot of individual donor was helping us. We still have a lot of needs because to fill the gap will be really long, but as we continue to work, I think also people will continue to support us, and it is really important. Everything is helping us. It's not always about also money. It's always sometimes in kind. I have some people who send me masks, who selling masks for us, and all this kind of thing is, I think, is important. We are together and to help each other on this difficult time.
Yeah. And it's quite a well-known fact that a lot of primates share a lot of our DNA. Is there a concern in that the virus could potentially jump into the animals?
Of course, because when we have an epidemic of cold, we may think one of the team will have it. So, but we take measure. We close the center. We close everything since the 18th of March. And we take big measure for our staff with the mask, with the hand sanitation, different spots of washing hand, and we boost the immunity of our primates, especially the great apes, because of course they are the more closest. And to be sure, if something will happen, they will be in a condition to fight against. But we take all the measures for nothing like this happen. So, but it was a long process. So now they are okay. Nothing happened. Our staff are still good also. So that's the good news.
Okay, well, I'll put one more question to you, and then we'll wrap it up. We've got one from Sven Ulrich, and he's asking why is the wildlife trade in primates getting worse? Is it seen that they're going to make good pets, a status symbol?
Getting worse. It's difficult to know where we are. Of course, is not stopping. That's definitely the thing. Getting worse. There is no really number about this, but it is what is, you know, for some primates they will go to there is a traffic with the Asian zoo who not belong with the same ethics than other zoo in the world. So they want this species, and there is lots of traffic also from other countries who not respect the law, and they want the chimpanzees, they want a bonobo, they want a gorilla, and they will not wait, transfer with another zoo, and they want it for them. So that's the one also creating all this traffic. After you have also people who want to have an African grey parrot to the place, and it's not easy to have it, so they will go to another way. So until all this continue, it will be difficult to stop the traffic.
I think as well, a lot of people realize when they take these animals, they don't understand just how long a lot of them actually live for, and how much work and care, and how, well, especially some of the apes and the chimps, that they're dangerous animals when they get bigger. So then they end up being abandoned.
The always thing is nice to have a baby chimpanzees, but when they start to have 6-7 years old, it's not the same. But we have with that with a lot of monkey, like in Europe with the macaque of Barbary. You can find, because I come from France, but you can find them in forest in France, a lot of macaque of Barbary, because people participating on this traffic, and at the end, when the male or the start to have teeth like this and start to attack, they don't want it, so they send it, and they just abandon like this. But they stole from the forest, so that's not fair.
No, well, thankfully there are people like yourselves who are there and are trying to help. So thank you so much for all the work you do. As I say, I'm going to start wrapping up now. So thank you everyone for watching back home. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. As I said earlier, don't forget that you can watch this later, and if you are watching it later, do put some questions towards us. We're happy to help. Like, share, let's help spread the word of this organisation that's doing some incredible work in some very difficult times. Peggy, is there anything you'd like to say to wrap up?
No, but thank you for everybody who follow this, and we are together. We need to continue our fight. Here we always say we are together, so I will just finish like this because that's the word. And thank you to follow us, and if you need any information, just email me or follow us and you will have some more information about our center. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much everyone, and
Bye-bye.
enjoy the rest of your day.